economy, changes in the job market, work to identify the skills that are going to be necessary for those new jobs that are both current in our economy and in our future economy, and to aid and support schools and businesses in how we can work better together. And that's how our BAC is built. That's how Christine facilitates the work on behalf of all of you. We meet more regularly through a group called the Success Network that many of you are familiar with. Christine and her team facilitates all of that on your behalf. And so with that, I just wanted to center us around those three primary goals of BACs. I know we have an agenda today that speaks to at least a couple of these goals. And with that, I'll turn it back to Christine and she can get things started.
Thank you so much, Dr. Goodney, for welcoming everyone and also for your leadership with the Business Advisory Council. We really appreciate that. We have a great agenda this morning. We are going to be talking about some of our pre-apprenticeship programs that we have been developing, and we have great panel members this morning that will be sharing more information. We also have some updates on our work groups that have been meeting regularly. And we're also going to share how you can get involved in that work if you're interested. And we also have a regional economic update from Bill LaFayette. And we're very excited that we have him this morning, who will be sharing with us lots of information about our economy and how it has been impacted by COVID. So with that, we're going to go right into our meeting. I would ask if you would please mute yourself when others are talking, just so that we don't have a lot of background noise. So I appreciate that. So before we start with our pre-apprenticeship panel, I just wanted to give some background, because we use the word pre-apprenticeship in a lot of different ways and a lot of different contexts. So I wanted to make sure that everyone understood when we're talking about recognized pre-apprenticeship programs, we're actually talking about Apprenticeship Ohio and the pre-apprenticeships that have been approved through the process of the Ohio State Apprenticeship Council policy. This is also the pre-apprenticeship that has been approved by the Ohio Department of Education for the 12-point industry credential that also assists our students with their graduation requirements. So those are the types of pre-apprenticeship programs that we're going to be speaking to today. I also wanted to share with all of the employers on the call, there are a lot of benefits for districts and students, but there are also a lot of benefits for employers when you're thinking about developing work-based learning and specifically pre-apprenticeship programs. A lot of our employers talk about how it assists them in establishing that pipeline of skilled workers, which is really a need right now. We have a lot of gaps in our pipeline leading to those skilled trades. So pre-apprenticeship programs really assist in that process of building that pipeline. The other piece is really reducing employer recruitment and turnover costs. Research has shown that employers who actually participate in pre-apprenticeship programs reduce that turnover, because you're already moving them into your company, they're familiar with it, and that really leads to employees staying with you. It also allows funding opportunities, and we're going to talk about some of those later today. And it also provides a tool for our customer marketing as well. So,
all right.
When we talk about our program
listen to this call, so I'm good
today, we're going to talk about three employers. We're going to highlight
those. Thank you so much.
And again, just a reminder, if you could please mute yourself while we're going through the meeting, it would be super helpful. We're going to talk about today three employers and really highlight programs that have developed through City Barbecue and Worthington Industries, and also Capital City Trailers we're going to discuss today. Just to give you some background, we have several of our member districts that are currently have pre-apprenticeship programs in place. We have lots of other districts that are developing pre-apprenticeship programs. This is just a slide that shows you some of our districts and schools that have developed pre-apprenticeship programs and show you that there are a wide array of occupational sectors that can really lead to a pre-apprenticeship program, ranging from information technology to culinary to welding, facilities maintenance. So when we talk about and highlight some of the programs today in our panel, just be aware that there are several others that are currently in place and several other districts that are working to develop that. So with that background in place, I'm really excited to introduce our panel members this morning, and I really appreciate them taking the time to share with us more information about their pre-apprenticeship programs. We have Mark Tremaine with us this morning. He is the Director of Innovation and Extended Learning from Hilliard City Schools. We also have Mike Morbitzer on the call this morning. He is the Director of Standards and Federal Programs at Hamilton Local Schools. We have Nicole Brown, who serves as a recruiter for City Barbecue. And we also have Perry Gregory, Senior Vice President of the Academy of Urban Scholars. So again, I really appreciate them taking time out of their day to share with us information about their pre-apprenticeship programs. And we're just going to start this morning by having each of the participants just share some information about their program. And then if any of you have questions at all, as we're going through our panel discussion this morning, please put those in the chat. John will be monitoring the chat. I will also be monitoring the chat, and we'll bring those questions to the panel as we progress. So with that, I would like to start with Mark. So Mark, if you could please unmute yourself and just give us a little bit of information about the program that you have going on at Hilliard.
Absolutely. Thank you for having this panel today. I'm excited to learn with you and share our journey. We had a group go to the ESC when we were talking. You hosted an event there about the 12-point credentials. We sent a group of counselors, and there were business partners there as well, and Worthington Industries was there. So we had a group go there, and that's how this relationship was born. And we connected with Worthington Industries, and we just wanted to keep the conversation going. Our first year, we just tried a pilot, and we ran that through our CBI program, Career-Based Intervention Program. We centrally located that at our Innovation Campus. We have a building in the middle of our district, and we grabbed students, 5 students from each of the 3 different high schools in Hilliard, and we just tried it out. Worthington came to us 2 days a week, and we did a partnership with the city of Hilliard too. So they were having an in-class session. This was second semester of their senior year. These are kids looking to, advance in the workforce, not necessarily go to college right away, but go into the workforce. And so they came in 2 days a week, second semester, for 2 hours at a time. That first 9 weeks of the second semester, they were in the classroom at the hub, and they were learning about different parts of manufacturing and facilities maintenance through Worthington Industries. And the Worthington Workforce Experience is how we branded that program with them. And they were doing things in a classroom, a lot of simulations, a lot of soft skill type things. And then the second 9 weeks of that second semester, the final 9 weeks, they had a work experience where they're going to the cylinders division of Worthington Industries right off of 270, and they're working a half of a shift, a 4-hour shift, and that was a paid experience. So that was the first year, and that was not a formal pre-apprenticeship, but the event that you hosted at the ESC was the catalyst for this. And then we worked with Christine to be able to make this a formal pre-apprenticeship program, and she facilitated that journey with us. And we went through the process of making this a manufacturing pre-apprenticeship program that leads to a facilities maintenance apprenticeship program if they want to continue that journey. So this year, it is that formal pre-apprenticeship. It was at the end of last year as well. And we have made some shifts. We met with Worthington Industries last week, and There's going to be some virtual events that kick off this, and then we will, instead of hosting it at Hilliard City Schools, we are looking to have the students go to Worthington Industries for both the classroom part and the actual on-the-job training part. So we're very excited about that. It's grown every year. The partnership with the city, the first year, students were able to have a culminating project where Worthington donated a playground set, and our students, as part of this experience, worked with Hilliard's Parks and Rec, and they built a playground just outside, a city playground just outside of Hilliard-Davidson High School. So it was a great experience, giving back to the community and setting up an opportunity for their future.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark, for sharing that. Now we'll move to Perry Gregory. Perry, can you share some information about the pre-apprenticeship programs you have going on at the Academy of Urban Scholars?
Yes, thank you. Can everybody hear me pretty clear?
Yes.
I always got to ask these questions when I'm on Zoom. Yes, I am Perry Gregory, Senior Vice President here over at the Academy for Urban Scholars, which is a non-traditional career post-secondary school that we offer here in Columbus and also Youngstown, Ohio. So currently, we've met with Mrs. Galvin last year to start our first pre-apprenticeship model in construction, in which we have a number of students who are going through career training in entry-level construction trades, where they're learning how to be laborers, they're learning how to be electricians, they're learning things around plumbing. And so we started this process off last year with engaging about 15 of our students who are attending our school here in Columbus, Ohio. They went through a 6-week training process in which they learned all the different trades, got a certification, and then they also had work-based learning experience in which we partner with the Workforce Development Board of Franklin County Jobs and Family Services to actually provide them $10 an hour wages while they were earning their credential and doing their workplace activity. And then our registered apprenticeship partner was the local electrical union here in Columbus. We worked with them to identify students who successfully completed that opportunity to be able to refer them over for an employment opportunity. And then we worked with a construction company, a small construction company here called J&J Construction, in which they actually provided the work learning experience, and also they have begun the process of hiring about 5 of those students who completed. We're excited to announce that of those 15 students, everyone completed the actual program. And then 7 have been officially offered full-time employment opportunities. We really believe that the pre-apprenticeship approach is really the best for our hard to serve students, in which we particularly serve, and which we serve a lot of dropout recovery students. And we know that college is not the only success for particularly this opportunity youth population. And so that was one of the reasons why we really began to create that pre-apprenticeship model. Fast forward to 2020 this year, we have expanded in partnering with Perkins and the Ohio Department of Education to create a pre-apprenticeship model. We believe this model is really an innovative model that we are going to be expanding and potentially looking to partner with other schools in this process. But through this process is a collaboration between the National Center for Urban Solutions Tech, which is a technical arm, post-secondary institution, the Academy for Urban Scholars Youngstown, and the Academy for Urban Scholars Columbus. And also we have partners such as Apprenti, which is a registered apprenticeship partner. And then we have other employer partners such as Cover My Meds and some other employer partners who are participating through this process. Through this pre-apprenticeship process, individuals are learning fast-growing advanced skills in technology, centered around cloud computing in AWS, earning certifications in CompTIA A+, Microsoft. And then we're excited that we recently just partnered with IBM, and so we're going to be adding more creative things around software development and cybersecurity. And students who participate in this program actually go through credentialing for like 10 to 12 weeks in which they earn the certification. And then after they earn that certification, they will do some work-based experiences. And then the goal is that we look to refer them over to our partner over at Apprenti and Kevin Glad for registered apprenticeship opportunity. We believe that with COVID-19 has really accelerated this model due to the need for more individuals to have digital-based skills. And so we're excited that we're going to keep growing this, and we're going to be always looking for more partners.
Excellent. Thank you, Perry, for sharing information on your pre-apprenticeship programs. Next, we'll have Nicole talk about a partner perspective from City Barbecue. So Nicole, if you could please unmute yourself and share, I would appreciate that.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Brown. I work for City Barbecue. I'm a recruiter for them. And Ohio is my territory. It's where I was born and raised. I'm a huge believer in this program. I did an internship many moons ago with Experience Columbus, and it just launched me into hospitality and my passion for it. So food and beverage is what I'm all about. And our program is based in the joint and it's operational. We kind of allow you to focus in on what you're best at, front of house or back of house. So if you have that kind of chef background or you want to get into that type, we certainly can show you the ropes in the back of the house. And then front of the house, you're going to do more cashier. You're going to be greeting the customers. And you're still going to liaise between front of house and back of house because our setup is extremely kitchen strong. And I think that's important. I think too, if you can get through City Barbecue, you will be able to survive anywhere. We work hard, but we have tons of fun. You know, there's a lot of benefits. Our program is paid. And we actually try to grow people. That's a big emphasis with City Barbecue, how much you can move up the ladder and how quickly we like to do that. Matter of fact, we try to move the hourly crew members within a year, as long as they show that, you know, the urge and the passion to want to become management with us. We will try to move you up within 12 months. Sometimes people get there within 6. I mean, it's just something we believe in. So I'm really excited about it. We don't have any stats to share. This is new for us, but I'm hoping the next call, we're going to have a few people that have came in and continued to do our pre-apprenticeship program. But we're really excited. And thank you so much for this opportunity, Christine. Honestly, I can't tell you how much I'm excited.
Great. And we're excited to have you as a partner. And as Nicole shared, this is a new program. So this year will be the first time that students will be going through it. And she's been a great partner. And as part of that, we also have some industry credentialing built into it with the Serve Safe credential. And as Nicole shared, it helps the students get that faster track into a management type position. And really, that's the whole goal behind these pre-apprenticeships, is to help them during high school and after high school move into those higher level type positions. So thank you, Nicole. I really appreciate that. And next, we will have Mike Morbitzer talk about the pre-apprenticeship programs from Hamilton. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I believe Mike would like to share his screen to talk about some of his programs.
Yes, I'm working on that.
Okay.
It's not yet letting me share.
Okay. Well, you can start talking while you're trying to share. How about that?
Okay. What I wanted to share with you, we have lots of documents that we've prepared over the last couple of years so that we can clearly communicate everything that we're doing with students and teachers and parents, administrators, and just so that we all know what's going on and how we're doing the work and what it's all about. So first off, I want to explain just briefly that we're after everything. We advertise seasonal work, part-time work for our students, full-time work for their parents. We absolutely are trying to build internships, pre-apprenticeships, apprenticeships. with these goals. There are 5 of them. First one should be obvious. We're trying to have the maximum impact on our students. Second one plays in off of that with minimal impact on our staffing and our scheduling. Because if we build too fast, we may not be able to serve the students overall. We want to serve them as much as we possibly can, have that impact on them, but not grow too quickly. And so that leads to another goal that we're only adding 2 work-based learning partnerships per year, no more, even if we find some outstanding ones, because that growth is always fantastic, but it can have a detrimental impact on how we staff our different programs, especially if we're doing any of the training in school. We have to figure out how that works into our current scheduling. Also want to make clear, another goal is that we're building and maintaining our Easton and Fairfield Career Technical School enrollment. We got down to, I think, under 50 like 3 years ago. And we don't want any of this work to be to the detriment of Easton and Fairfield. So in the last 3 years, I think we've doubled our numbers there. So we made that clear with Easton and Fairfield that nothing that we do that seems to be away from them is going to take away from what they're doing. We're still making sure that our students many of our students are being guided toward Easton and Fairfield. And lastly, the 5th one is that we intend to continue to use this to expand our career-based intervention, our CBI, because it also has been less than what it should have been. We've only had our students work in our district for the last several years. They're working in our cafeterias, and that's not leading to anything else, no credential or anything like that. What we intend to do now is expand that and get it back to where they're out in the community doing internships, both paid and unpaid, and getting into the pre-apprenticeships. Our current partners, CCT, Capital City Trailers, they primarily specialize in welding. Our program has taken off. It's been absolutely fantastic. Lots of participation, and our community loves that we're doing it. City Barbecue, of course, is another one. And Christine Galvin has been absolutely essential in this work, because while we were working on it, while we were thinking this through, we had the insistence, Hamilton had the insistence that our students are doing more than just taking orders and cutting meat. While there certainly will be doing that, we insisted, and Christine Galvin was able to negotiate this for us into our agreement, that they have some work with management as well, some other aspects of the job, something that they couldn't get necessarily if they just walked in one day and applied. I want to point this out too. We also have a partnership with Hamilton Township Fire Department. We have Captain Wade Edwards, who comes into our building and teaches every day, and he's hiring our students as EMTs and future paramedics. Our upcoming agreements that we hope to get worked out, we're working with the Village of Obetz a lot, and we're hoping to bring Daktronics into that so our students can actually work inside of Fortress Obetz and work their multi-million-dollar graphics and get certification for that too. And finally, AEP Ohio. We certainly have been eyeing that for the last couple of years. We want to get them on board too, so that we can have a pre-apprenticeship program that guides our students, to be power line workers. Lastly, and again, this is something I don't think I'm sharing yet. Am I, Christine?
No, you're not sharing. Your screen's not sharing.
Okay. Well, the last thing I wanted to reiterate, our effort has been largely built around getting the word out and showing everybody what we have. And one thing I'm looking at on my screen, I wish I could share with you, is a flow chart of our agreements and how we're working our partner relationships. And I just want to briefly go over that. It's that we work with ESC all the time. Christine and I are talking, it seems like every day, but it's probably once or twice a week at least. And then she coordinates with Apprenticeship Ohio. And then we both coordinate with the businesses that we're wooing or we're talking with. And we have found that part does take some time. We've had to be patient with that, because even with CCT, it's owned by a couple of Hamilton Township High School graduates. I'm a graduate too. We've known each other for a very long time. There's a lot to work out. But certainly Christine and everyone at the ESC has been very helpful in getting those partnerships established.
Well, thank you, Mike, for sharing that. You definitely have some great programs happening at Hamilton. And I really want to make sure that we get to some of the questions in the chat. It looks like there are some questions for Perry. One of that is just around, how have you approached attendance, transportation, communication, and maybe some of the other panel members want to answer this question too. But, there are those life issues that just get in the way sometimes for students and accessing these programs. So Perry, if you want to start for us and speak to how have you at the Academy of Urban Scholars tried to assist with those kinds of issues like transportation and just all of those kind of barriers that happen sometimes?
Thank you. I would say the key sweet spot in really us making the success of this program successful for our students is that we pair them with what we call a talent engagement coach. And that talent engagement coach responsibility is to help eliminate barriers that prevent our students from not attending or not completing, or any small barriers that they may have in their life, such as transportation. Sometimes it can be childcare. And so they really provide that wraparound support. Particularly if you ask about transportation, we've worked very closely with our partners. So our engagement coaches, sometimes they have to provide the students with transportation to the sites. We do try to put the onus in all of our students by requiring them to potentially either get on the bus, or maybe it's having their parent drop it off, or sometimes, like I said before, it's our staff dropping them off. Through our partnership with the Workforce Development Board, we are able to provide our students with bus passes to get to those locations. So that works very well. But really, it's all about building the relationships with our students. And so our engagement coach, we put a lot of effort in making sure our students are successful through our engagement coach model.
Thank you. Anybody else from the panel who would like to add to that or chime in?
Worthington was able to help with an Uber transportation from Hilliard to the Cylinders site. This year, we're exploring taking one of our Hilliard City school buses from Hilliard to the Worthington plant. So that has seemed to work. Most of our students have been able to provide their own transportation, but we have a support. We have a counselor that serves almost like that talent engagement coach that's checking in with them regularly to provide those supports and eliminate those barriers as well.
Excellent. Thank you. Another question we had is for the IT program, how has the project addressed the need or access to software or internet access? So Perry, I know, again, I'm going back to you because you have the IT program. Do you want to speak to how you've overcome some of those barriers?
Yes, well, that was the first barrier that we had to overcome, was the digital and broadband access with all of our students. So this year we partnered very closely with the local United Way here and Cardinal Health, in which they have provided all of our IT students with laptops. And then we also received some funding from the Ohio Department of Education's broadband grant program to be able to provide our students broadband access in their house, in which we have given each of our students MiFis, and which they are able to take with them wherever they go. And so that's really what we had to do first to really address the whole digital broadband access.
All right, thank you. And I will also share that we have other districts that are doing IT pre-apprenticeships, and they have done something similar where they are actually providing students with broadband access with the actual devices, just to make sure that they have the equipment. Some districts have also, to overcome the transportation barrier, looked at in-house opportunities. For example, with childcare, several of our districts have preschools on site where students can actually get experiences. And also several of our districts have very robust IT departments where they can get some great work-based learning experiences there, as well with business and industry partners. So those are some other ideas of how people have overcome some of those barriers. I know we're running out of time for our panel, so I did want to ask Nicole from an employer perspective, why were you interested in pre-apprenticeships, and how do you think this will be a benefit to City Barbecue?
Well, I mean, again, I interned, although it's a different name. I did an internship, a long internship, back when I was in college at Columbus State in hospitality, and I just can't even believe how much it's changed my life and given me direction. So I personally, to have been asked to kind of help lead this, it's how I'm wired. I just believe in education and moving things forward and helping any student out. So that's one thing. And as far as City Barbecue goes, I mean, we really try to, you know, pay it forward. We're very community driven. I think that those reasons, and then just simply, I mean, food and beverage is, especially right now, it's such an industry that is in need of people for no matter what you're doing. I mean, there is a lot of opportunity. And City Barbecue, which it's unique, we're based here in Dublin, our support center, as we call it. And Christine, we should chat offline, but one of the really cool things about City Barbecue is that we have a call center, and that's unique to the food and beverage industry. So there's other opportunity, not just in the joints and operationally, but City Barbecue, I mean, from our founder, you know, and our executive leadership team down to, you know, the folks in the joints. I mean, this is so important to us. So, you know, it was like a no-brainer.
Excellent. So just to end out our conversation, and anyone can really respond to this if you like, how would you suggest, if someone's interested in developing a pre-apprenticeship program and starting this work either in their district or with their business, what would you suggest as a way for them to start and think about engaging in this work?
I can go. I do think it's all about relationships, and they get started a number of different ways. Our business advisory council, from a district standpoint, is allowing us access to a variety of employers and just really cultivating the different aspects regionally where opportunities lie. Our counselors do a great job of providing opportunities for our students as well, and initiating some of those partnerships. We have some informal opportunities that are going on right now through Amazon Web Services, through Cardinal Health, through RT Moore with HVAC and plumbing, that we'd like to get more formal. And then our mentorship program is different this year with COVID, but that is another opportunity to create connections. We've got a great leader in that, and connecting the district with different people. But it's really, you know, like Mike had said, being really open to anything, but growing purposefully. And I think cultivating those relationships, having intentional opportunities to connect and find out, you know, the different opportunities with our students or for our students is really, really important.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you all to our panel members. I really appreciate your participation this morning. I know how busy all of you are. So I really appreciate you taking the time this morning to share more about your pre-apprenticeship programs. And if any of the participants in the meeting today have additional questions for our panel participants, please feel free to continue to add those in the chat, and we'll respond to those if you have anything specific that you would like to know. So thank you again, and I really appreciate you taking the time this morning. Next, I just wanted to share some information about funding opportunities, because this is another piece with this work. And we talked about that, transportation, just some of those barriers that we need to overcome. And I have been really appreciative that the Central Ohio region has taken a really collaborative approach to securing funding to help us with these opportunities for our students. I think it's really amazing how all of the different organizations organizations in Central Ohio have really come together to apply for grants. And then when the grant funding does come, to work collaboratively together with all of these different organizations to develop these opportunities. So I just wanted to share a few that we have received and a few applications that we have that are in place that we're hoping to receive, because we may be reaching out to you as part of this work to see if you want to partner and be a part of these opportunities. So the first is an investing and innovation grant that we're actually in the last year of funding. This was a Columbus State grant that they have worked collaboratively with lots of organizations in the region. And really the whole idea was to expand access to College Credit Plus and also industry credentials. And it supported college and career readiness. So that's one example of funding that has helped to drive this work. Another is actually a grant that we just received, and it's a result of COVID and the fact now that a lot of our students are working remotely. And what does that mean for work-based learning, and what does that mean for our students? So this grant is really about making sure that we have equitable access for our families and our students to all the materials, devices, and things that they need. Another really exciting development is the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services recently received a $9.1 million grant to help expand apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship opportunities in Central Ohio. So we're very excited to be a part of that work. And I know that they are reaching out to several organizations in Central Ohio to work together to utilize those grant dollars. Some of the grant applications that we have in place that we're hoping to receive, one is the Education, Innovation, and Research Grant. And this is really about getting computer science into mathematics curriculum at an earlier age. So again, it's about building that pipeline, starting in middle school, making sure that students are exposed to all of these different pathways. And IT is a huge need in almost all occupational sectors. And that's why we chose that particular field to apply for this grant, with the hope that we can build that pipeline. The other one is Columbus State is writing another grant, and this one is really focused on training teachers and teacher professional development so that they'll be able to actually help students earn some of those industry credentials. And the last one is really focused on engineering technology. Again, targeting the underrepresented youth and the adults to help them get those skills necessary to fill some of those vacancies that we're seeing in our pipelines. So we're always looking for opportunities for funding to help create more opportunities for our students. So if there are ever any grant applications or any kinds of support that you need, the Educational Service Center is always willing to lean in and help support that work. So at this point, I'm going to turn over the meeting to John Hambrick. John is our work-based learning coordinator at the Educational Service Center of Central Ohio, and he's going to share some information about different work groups that we have going on and the great work that they're doing, and also share some opportunities of how you can get involved in that work.
Great, thank you, Christine, and good morning, everybody. And I think that's one of the themes we're hearing thus far this morning is that it's a collaborative effort between our business and industry partners, our nonprofit and community organizations, our school districts to support the learning and advancement of our students. And so as a part of that, we've created two work groups. One is our work-based learning work group. And, you know, by definition, work-based learning is an educational strategy, right? Where we want to help prepare our students to step into either workforce, education, or enlistment, but eventually they're all going to be in our workforce. And so these strategies are really helping to develop that skill and that preparedness for these students to step into the workforce. And we're trying to give them as many opportunities as possible. And you've heard that through the pre-apprenticeship examples here. A lot of the reasons is to help them learn and adapt to the skill sets that'll lead them for future success. But also at this age and these opportunities, it also gives them the opportunity to discover hey, maybe that's not what I want to do for, the next 5 or 10 or 15 years of my life after I get out of school. So it's really helping them, stay focused on opportunity. And one of the things that we want to try and do is with these work-based learning examples is giving students that opportunity, to be involved in that business so that they have the opportunity to kind of touch and feel and smell and be a part of that experience. But with our environment today, we also know, and what we're trying to do too, is provide these opportunities for virtual interactions, right? So that as whether through that information technology aspect of virtual experiences, or we're learning across the board that business and industry is adapting to providing that virtual experience so students can be a little bit more immersed in the opportunity. Now, we know, and a lot of the conversation today has been focused around our high school students. Because work-based learning is an opportunity for graduation requirements. It's an opportunity to learn these skills and have exposure to these skills as they step into the workforce. But the great thing is that really it's a continuum, right? That we start these experiences in the kindergarten classroom, into the elementary schools, into the middle schools. One of the examples, to share is the when a technology group goes into an elementary room classroom and helps those students code a little robot that can follow along a line that they've traced, right? And that gives those aha moments. Those are like, wow, I didn't know that was a possibility. And man, I want to try and, establish a trajectory where I can be involved in something like that. So these experiences from as early as a learner we have into and in our future graduating classes into work is really we provide these opportunities through the gamut. Now, who benefits from this? And what we know here in Central Ohio, and as it's been shared, it's the three-legged stool. We have our schools. We have our students, and we have our bank on working with a nonprofit organization, how they're working with school districts to help support these student learners. So, I talk about experiences, and you've heard some of these pre-apprenticeship and work-based learning experiences, but coaching, having opportunity to help network with our students. So I see here, you and you an identified comfort level as to how you might want to be involved in providing experiences. Maybe you really like doing informational interviews. Maybe you really like guiding someone through that interview process because it's an art, right? And it is something that you've really gotten pretty good at, and you want to be able to share that knowledge and some key success points with students. And here's an opportunity where you could do that as a business to engage with the school district. Or you want to do a little bit more. And as Nicole mentioned, internship. Sure, she's had the traditional internship through her collegiate career, but we have these different experiences with pre-apprenticeship through the high school, mentoring, and really even a true work-based learning opportunity like Hilliard and Worthington Industry are doing right now with that multi-year program of curriculum, outcomes, competencies that's being taught in the classroom, but also then at the work site. And while at the work site, it's a paid opportunity. So it's really, this is so, I think, vital for not only our students as they progress through, but for you as our business partners and leaders, that this is a way for you to cultivate your future workforce. And so I'm going to ask that at the bottom of the screen is a link. we're going to send that link out to you after this event in some notes. And this is how you can get involved, right? By taking this survey, and whether you're business and industry, you're a school district right now, you're a college partner, a higher education partner, or your community partner, however that might look, the Workforce Development Board, United Way, Big Brothers and Big Sisters. There is absolutely a place for you in this conversation to collaborate and partner with our students. I want to go on to that. Work-based learning has an important segment of our parents and our community. And here's our second work group that you could be involved with, where you can either as a parent have children in one of our many school districts. We have over 30 school district partners, and we have and in that survey, there's going to be a list that you could choose from, where you could help us identify what those skill gaps are. And we know the state of Ohio is fantastic through Ohio Department of Job and Family Services and the Lieutenant Governor's Office of Workforce Transformation. They tell us what those in-demand occupations are, but what might be the skill gaps in your home? What might be those skill gaps in your community to help a more robust and prepared community member? Right. And so please, we're asking you to have an opportunity to get involved with either the work-based learning work group or with our parent and community engagement work group. And I shared that link earlier of a survey that we're going to send out. But what I'm going to ask now, the next few minutes, I'm going to ask that you go to the chat. There's going to be a link in the chat that I'm going to ask if you would take the next few minutes and fill out this Google form. I'm going to ask that, yes, that you seize the opportunity to share with us how you would like to get involved. The link is there. And if you've not had a chance, we're just going to wait for a few minutes before we ask Dr. Bill LaFayette to join us. But for the next few minutes, I'm going to ask that you click on that Google form. Let us know who you are. Let us know your comfort of engagement, whether you want to engage with a student right away, whether you want to try and develop a conversation, much the way that Mike and Mark and Nicole and Perry have talked about how they've coordinated with us at the Educational Service Center, business partnerships, and the schools, where we all sit down at the table and we have a strategic plan to put in place for future success and engagement. So please, let's go to that form. I'm not a really good fall fund drive raiser, as we hear on WCBE, or we used to hear with Jerry Lewis. But I am going to ask, just please click on that link. I think it's a total of 5 questions where you have the opportunity to put in your contact information, how you'd like to get a chance. And right now, you know what, if it only says you can have one choice, thanks for sharing that, Jeannie, then you choose your choice level of your comfort level. And then we're going to follow up and we can expand on that. Because that one choice isn't a lifetime commitment. What that is just help us engage with what you're interested in doing, how we can be a part of you and your organization to help promote training, education, involvement, success, growth, retention, all of these great elements that as a community here in Central Ohio, we've continued to do with our workforce development partners, our economic development partners, and you that are here on the call today. So again, just please take that link right there. If you've not had a chance, there it is. Take that, and we'll also send that in our notes afterwards to make sure that you have a chance to fill that out and let us know how we can help you. Next, I have the honor here to introduce Dr. Bill LaFayette. He owns Regionomics, which is a consulting firm focused on helping clients understand and thrive in small area economies, neighborhoods, communities, and regions. Bill brings to his work 25 years of experience in economic development and economic analysis in Central Ohio. He's a recognized authority here in Ohio and on our Columbus economies. And Bill is recently co-author of Knowledge Economies and Knowledge Work. So please, Dr. LaFayette, please unmute yourself and the floor is yours, sir.
I am unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Well, let me start off with a warning / apology. I've been a little unstable. Well, my internet has been unstable this morning. I'm always unstable, but I have switched to from my internet to my hotspot, and it seems to be working okay. But if I suddenly go away, I'm going to come back as quickly as I possibly can. So let me start sharing my screen. Here it is. So what I want to do is to start with a few thoughts on the US economy now and in the future, just to kind of set the stage. And then I'm going to narrow the focus to our own region and finish up with some ideas on the evolving workforce and education's potential role in that evolution. So we're seeing right now what are probably the largest swings in economic data in US history. In some cases, these swings are so big that looking at levels makes more sense than looking at changes. Here's one good example. This is US gross domestic product. That's the total goods value of goods and services produced in the US. The headline number in the second quarter GDP report was a 31% decline, which was actually improved from their original estimate of 33%. Economists are expecting the third quarter report to show a gain of 19%. But the thing to remember in all this is that GDP changes are always reported on an annualized basis because the changes themselves are usually so small. That 31% decline represents the change in GDP that would be seen if there were the same decline in each of the next 4 quarters. There won't be, nor will there be a 19% increase over the following 4 quarters. The actual second quarter decline was 9%. But as my chart shows, that obliterated more than 5 years of economic growth. The dashed line there to the right is the third quarter results of the Philadelphia Federal Reserve Survey of Professional Forecasters. And that's a survey they do every quarter of 35 economists on a variety of economic topics, including GDP forecasts. They get in these 35 forecasts and they average them. And so the result is a middle of the road consensus of what's possibly going to happen. And as I said, the forecast is for a gain of 19% annualized in the third quarter. And that's coming out very soon. So we'll see if that comes to pass. But then growth settles down to still very large gains of 5+% annualized for the next 2 quarters. and then the high threes for the second and third quarters of 2021. Even if that comes to pass, though, as you can see, GDP in the third quarter of next year would still be 2.3% less than its fourth quarter 2019 peak. If that comes to pass, though, we're probably out of recession now. The recession ends when the economy starts expanding, not when the previous peak is surpassed. It's probably going to be well into next year, though, before we find out for sure when the recession ended, in part because we still aren't sure that a resurgence of the virus is not going to lead to a double dip, another decline in GDP. One important sign of improvement, though, is that consumer sentiment is improving. That's really important because consumers represent 70% of total GDP. Generally, if consumers aren't feeling good, nobody's feeling good. Consumers won't spend, that holds back GDP growth. What you're seeing here is the University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Index, which is kind of the industry standard. This chart begins at the beginning of 2007, a full year before that recession began. The shaded areas are the recessions, and the chart runs through the results for the first half of October. Now notice in the months before the recession began in December of 2007, consumers had a feeling that something nasty was going to happen. And that's typical. You see consumer sentiment fall before the economy falls. This time, though, not surprisingly at all, the index shows that we were all caught completely off guard. Consumer sentiment crashed very quickly. And as you can see, there's been some improvement from its April low, but we are still not out of the woods yet. Obviously, the evolution of the virus is the big unknown in all of this. With everybody moving indoors as the weather gets colder, infections are likely to get worse. And that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing hotspots develop all over the place. We're seeing a massive increase in infections here in Ohio. But we don't know how much worse infections and deaths are going to get. How consumers and businesses are going to respond to that, and what's going to be the impact on the economy. We simply do not know. The major spike that's going on now, if it continues, is probably going to cause people to pull back again, even if there's not a formal lockdown. And that goes without saying that that's going to be catastrophic for hotels and restaurants, which are already on the ropes, and it's going to ripple throughout the economy. So let me turn now to what's going on here in Central Ohio. And my region that I follow is the 10-county Columbus Metropolitan Statistical Area. MSAs are set up by the federal government based on worker commuting patterns. So in a very real sense, an MSA is an economic unit. This chart shows trends in employment for the Columbus MSA, the state, and the US since the last expansion began. The MSA is in blue, the state's purple, and the US is in black. The chart starts in January of 2010 when employment started increasing after the recession. And it's on an index basis with everybody's employment set to 100 in that month. So this chart's showing you percentage growth since January of 2010. As 2020 was beginning, economic growth was continuing at a reasonable pace. My 2020 economic forecast predicted 1% employment growth here in Central Ohio during this year. Obviously, that's been consigned to the dustbin. Columbus, though, as the economy peaked, had gained 23% since employment growth began. The US was up 17.5. Ohio, though, was up less than 12. Things started falling apart in March. March statistics, though, referred to the week of the 8th, just as things were beginning to shut down. So the declines, while certainly noteworthy, really weren't all that bad. The trough occurred in April. Columbus employment fell 151,000, or 13.6% in that month alone. Ohio lost 15.1%. The US lost 13.8%. Just to put that in perspective, the entire 2007 to 2009 recession cost us 5%, or 48,000 jobs. Employment since April, as you can see, has come back to a degree, but we're still far below where we were in February. This chart's a different way of looking at the decline and the recovery. The red bars here are the percentage loss between February and April. The blue bars are the gain between April and September, and the black bars are the net loss for all those months. The MSA's on the top, Ohio's in the middle, and the US is on the bottom. All three areas changes are pretty similar, but as you can see, Ohio fell a little bit more than average, 16%, and it gained a little bit more than average, 10.3, ending up with a net loss since February of 8.1%. The Columbus MSA lost about the same amount that the US lost, but the gain has been less than average, 7.3% versus the nation's 8.8%. So we wind up with a net loss of 8.1% compared to the US loss of 7%. Now, let me just add parenthetically that there are reasons I don't have time to get into that gain and the net growth for the Columbus MSA may not be quite as worrisome as it looks, but we won't find that out for a while. All sectors are down. Nobody's escaped this, even healthcare, which usually escapes economic downturns. But leisure and hospitality, arts, entertainment, hotels, and restaurants have definitely borne the brunt of the decline. As you can see here, that sector fell by half in March and April. The MSA's gained 46% since then as restaurants and entertainment facilities have reopened to a degree. Ohio's gained 57% and the US has gained 52%. But that leaves all three areas still down a quarter or almost. Another big indicator I'm following that gives me very, very current information is weekly unemployment claims. Those are issued every Thursday morning for the preceding week. And what I'm doing here is charting total claims as a percentage of the average 2019 labor force. The chart starts the week ended March 14th, the last week before claims exploded, and it runs through the week ended October 10, information that we got out this past Thursday. The MSA is the solid blue line. Franklin County is the dashed blue line. Ohio is purple, and the US is black. Ohio claims, as you can see, increased more than average early on, and that's consistent with the state losing more jobs than average in March and April. But both the MSA and Ohio have, at least for the entire period, have fallen more proportionally more quickly than the US since they peaked at the end of April. The MSA, though, is currently generating close to 3,000 new unemployment claims a week. That's way down from the almost 37,000 that we were getting the week ended March 28, but it's nowhere near the 759 that we got the week ended March 4. A worrisome fact is that new claims, that is, initial claims for unemployment insurance, have been increasing in Franklin County, the MSA, and Ohio for the past 4 weeks running. They've increased nationwide last week. The only thing that keeps total claims going down is that people are leaving the system, that is, getting employed, faster than they're coming in for now. No matter how things turn out, though, the pandemic is accelerating changes that were already underway. And before I go to that, let me just share this slide that has my contact info on it, just in case you want to get in touch. That Facebook page, I tend to post new data on unemployment claims and employment. I try to do it once or twice a week. Sometimes I can, most of the time I can, sometimes I can't. So please follow and like that if you're interested. So let me now stop screen sharing somehow. Stop. Okay, there I am. As I said, there are changes in the workforce that have been underway for years, and the pandemic has really accelerated those changes. One change that the pandemic definitely accelerated is the increase in virtual offices and the share of workers who are working from home. Now, companies have been talking about doing this for years, but they've been reluctant to take the plunge, fearing that it would be disruptive to their output. The COVID situation has forced them to do that, though, and it seems to be, in many cases, working pretty well. It saves the employee lots of money, of course, and it can be a nice employee perk. In some cases, it can actually increase productivity depending on the worker's role. One other advantage of this is that not many people seem to be talking about is the possibility of a vastly expanded labor market. Say you're a Columbus-based company trying to recruit a superstar from, say, the coast somewhere. You no longer have to try to convince that person to move to Columbus. Conversely, I have friends who are in the process of moving to Florida. One of them works for one of the big insurance companies in town, and that company is going to let him continue to work for the home office from his new home. If you live here and you get a job offer from a Chicago company, there's no need for you to try to find housing in Chicago, which for the most part is a lot more expensive than it is here. If you have mobility problems or you're caring for a child or an aging parent, that might have kept you from joining the labor force before. Now you might be able to do so. Right now, I'm teaching a research methods capstone class in the master's degree program at the John Glenn College at Ohio State. And one of my students is doing his term project on this very subject. So I expect to know more soon about this than I do now. This trend, though, is just a small part of a major shift in the world economy that you've doubtless heard about, you maybe have experienced, the shift from an industrial economy to a knowledge economy. As John said, I'm co-author of a book that came out last fall called Knowledge Economies and Knowledge Work. My collaborators are Denise Bedford, who's on the faculty at Georgetown, Seema Iyer, who's on the faculty at the University of Baltimore and director of the Baltimore Neighborhood Indicators Alliance, and Wayne Curtis, who's a DC area researcher who studies social entrepreneurship and wealth building strategies for the working class. I was the Midwest token in all this. Over the past 70 years, the economy has transformed from one based on industrial production to one based on knowledge production. This transformation has been accelerated by innovations in automation and artificial intelligence. Our key argument in the book is that the knowledge economy applies everywhere, not just to high skill and technical fields. The knowledge economy shapes and is shaped by places and local economies. And knowledge becomes as much a factor of production as the traditional factors of land, labor, and capital. Many people think that artificial intelligence in particular is going to result in a wholesale loss of jobs that we're going to need to remedy through measures like universal basic income. But in the book, we cite two recent studies, one by McKinsey, the other by the World Economic Forum, that argue that these trends are more likely to be net job producers than net job destroyers. Now, that's not at all to say that there's not going to be dislocation and pain. The majority of jobs in the world economy are going to change fundamentally and are going to require a whole new set of skills. The World Economic Forum predicts that 75 million jobs may be displaced worldwide, while 133 million new jobs might be created. However, just because jobs can be automated doesn't mean that they will be. It depends, and it always has depended, on the cost and effectiveness of machines doing a job versus the cost and effectiveness of people doing that job. Education is a crucial component to make the knowledge economy work. Education cannot be simply preparation for a career. It has to support the ongoing learning that all individuals are going to need to remain relevant and solve real-world problems. The pace of change is only going to accelerate, and that pace of change is going to demand lifelong learning. Soft skills, workplace skills are also crucial, and unfortunately far too often lacking. I've talked to dozens of business leaders in a bunch of different fields all over the state as part of my work. And to a person, that's what they tell me. Too often, workers lack basic math skills, critical thinking skills, personal responsibility, teamwork, the ability to interact appropriately with others, and above all, oral and written communication skills. A manufacturing CEO in Appalachian, Ohio, told me that when he hires workers for his factory, he always looks for leadership skills, or at least the potential to develop them. And that's not only because he wants his workers to advance in the firm, it's because people with leadership skills naturally promote teamwork. Maybe the classical liberal arts high school education that I got 45 years ago is what we need, although I'm not entirely sure that everybody needs 4 years of Latin like what I got. Our continued success as a region depends vitally on our ability to understand how the knowledge economy shift is impacting our key industries, what new occupations and skills are going to be needed, and together, how we can help students and workers to acquire those skills. But as I've said before, we here in Central Ohio are smart people and we work well together. And I am absolutely convinced that we can do this. And so that is what I wanted to share. Do we have time for questions? I guess there have been some.
We do, Bill. And again, thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences. We do have a question from Jason asking if you could touch base on the impact of underemployment and what the new Ludwig Institute for Shared Economic Prosperity is calling the true rate of unemployment. That's around 26%.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's something I've followed too. I didn't share it here, but there are actually 6 different measures of unemployment. And what Jason's talking about is what's called U6, the most expansive measure of unemployment. And that includes people who are not only out of work, it also includes people who are working part-time who want to work full-time. And that gets at underemployment. It doesn't fully measure it. I would include an underemployment if you're working in a field below your skills and abilities. And obviously, the rate of underemployment, which was coming down rather nicely, has absolutely exploded. And that's something, that's why I don't often concentrate on the unemployment rate. I tease my friends at the Dispatch every month that the only reason why I ever look at the unemployment rate is that they make me. It's got many, many failings, and its inability to track underemployment is just one of those.
Very good. Thank you. And we do still have time for any of our participants today to ask any questions of Dr. LaFayette. You can put those in the chat. Additionally, we still have our panelists from our pre-apprenticeship panel. If there are additional questions, now is a great time to put those questions in the chat.
I got one from Laura that I'm seeing. What impacts do you foresee on local economies and city infrastructures as companies can more easily access a remote workforce and don't need to rely on the local workforce? That's a very interesting question, and I've been thinking about that. It's got a whole lot of different impacts. For one, the projections of the demand for roadway infrastructure may not be quite as great as what was projected even a year ago. I've I'm a commissioner of MORPC. I know that they are thinking about that actively right now. They haven't really come up with any conclusions yet. The impacts on being able to hire across the country are really interesting. It may result in more of an equalization of wage rates across the country. It might be that wages on the coasts are going to come down some. Wages here are going to go up some. We don't really know. That's something that I've suggested, though, that my Glenn College student take a look at. I'm not sure that he'll be able to find anything, but it's an interesting possibility. There's all sorts of stuff that's going to change, stuff that we just don't even know yet. That's why we've got to be so nimble. Okay, Michael says, how do you expect municipal budgets to change with so many folks working from home? Approximately 80% of the total revenue derived by the city of Columbus is from income tax withholdings. And although some temporary measures were put in place, do you see that changing? Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking also, I looked recently at Upper Arlington. They're 60%. And most municipalities in Ohio get a healthy majority from income tax. That's something that the folks in Columbus City government are rightly worried about, because the way the tax system's set up now is you pay tax where you work. And right now, you continue to pay tax where you worked before you were sent home, but that ability, that authority expires 30 days after the health emergency is lifted. And we certainly expect a lot of people to continue to work from home. And what that's going to do is it's going to result in a revenue shift from Columbus to the suburbs that tend to export workers to Columbus, or at least used to. So it's a big concern, and it's only part of the idiosyncratic tax system that we have here in Ohio that I've been arguing for years needs a very careful look.
It looks like he's had a follow-up question about could that destabilize municipal bond payment schedules?
Well, not in Columbus so much, because Columbus for years and years and years had a 25%, I believe, set aside for bond payments. And so since 1956, at least, these bond issues that have come out from Columbus have never resulted in the need for new taxes. And given the continuing reliance on that, it might not. Other municipalities in Ohio, I'm not so sure about it. That's part of the concern. But another part of the concern is the ability to continue to deliver city services that people need. Big problem.
Again, thank you, sir, so much for being here and sharing with our Business Advisory Council and the many participants. Christine.
Thank you.
Yes, I just want to close out our meeting saying thank you for joining us this morning. I know, again, how busy your schedules are, so I really appreciate the collaborative nature of everyone joining us. We will be sending out follow-up emails with the PowerPoint slides, also with the links to the information that was shared today, so that you will have all of that. We're really hopeful that you'll join us for our next Business Advisory Council in December. And again, we welcome any kind of participation that you would like to lean in and partner with us on our work. So thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a great and fantastic rest of your day.